competition, what you're talking about is the Public Diplomacy Through Games competition, which was a project that I co-directed with a team at USC, funded by a grant from the Lounsbury Foundation. The idea for that came out of an experience I had in my very first virtual world experience, which was in 2003, in a massively multiplayer online game called Star Wars Galaxies. Star Wars Galaxies, interestingly enough, had a number of the components that Second Life has in terms of sort of the overall cultural philosophy of how the space was used, namely that user-created content was sort of the order of the day. Yes, it was a game, there was a template with a game overlaid on it, but the notion was that the people who are passionate about the space would fill in the content themselves. And right after logging into the game, the first thing that I noticed within my first day, literally, of creating my avatar in Star Wars Galaxies was that no one was speaking English. And I hadn't logged on to a European server. Star Wars Galaxies, as opposed to Second Life, is actually partitioned by region and server, so you can't, if you're not from, they try to keep people in Europe on European servers and people in the US on their servers, which is why I think Second Life is such a wonderful idea. Anyway, the first thing I noticed is that people weren't speaking English. In fact, I identified 4 or 5 different European languages at that time, and I had just a couple years earlier come to USC from the State Department, and it was, and I had felt this this passion, and certainly one of my missions at the Voice of America and USIA, which was part of the State Department, to try to use technology as a way to build bridges between people. And I saw people in Star Wars Galaxies building intense relationships through play, through leisure time, and through the creation of content. And I had this epiphany. I said, this is going to really radically change the way people around the world are going to get to know each other. It's much more transformative in terms of its potential for building strong relationships between people than standard chat rooms are. And so I applied for a grant at the Lounsbury Foundation called and said, we should build a game that's a public diplomacy game and give it to the State Department. And they said, we don't think you're going to be able to teach foreign service officers how to build a game. How about if you go to the people who know it the best? And those are the gamers. And so they said, we'll fund a competition where you ask video game players if public diplomacy, that is an effort to build bridges between cultures, can be used as a way of building bridges between cultures. Much to our surprise, 90% or more of the games that were submitted from countries as far away as Turkey, Peru, Israel, were games that were built within the virtual world of Second Life. In fact, the top 4 prize winners, the second, third, and fourth prizes were all to games built within Second Life, and the winning prize was a standalone game called Peacemaker, which is a game in which you can role play the governments of the Palestinian Authority and the Israeli government and get a feel for how difficult it is to govern and move toward peace. If you say something positive about the opposing political group, your own community gets upset, and that causes challenges for managing that. And that sort of was the seed that moved us on toward thinking about the Understanding Islam project.